In today's clip, I am going to walk you through several key tests of two very popular brands of pencils. One is the reasonably priced Crayola brand and the other is the Prismacolor premium brand. I have decided to use the 24 set because I want to draw quite a detailed image, and you will see this at the end of the clip. But firstly, I'm going to run through several different blending tests, and I'm also going to do a pigmentation test, and then at the end I will have that detailed drawing. So let's get on with the clip. So to start our video, I have put here the price of the UK and the US comparison. You will see that there is a slight price difference, and also note that on Amazon the prices tend to go up and down quite frequently. I did notice that the Crayolas were significantly more expensive in the US and the Prismacolors were significantly more reasonable, but this is a slight difference, and also bear in mind that the prices do go up and down according to availability. So the first thing I'm going to talk about is pigmentation. I tried all of the pencils out, every single colour. The Prismacolor is on the top layer, the Crayola is on the bottom layer. Now I did find that there was quite a difference with the Crayola. I had to work that much harder to get the colours out that you can see on display here. The Prismacolors only had to get one layer, and as I say, the Crayolas I did have to layer out them over a couple of colours. You will see that the variety of colours that are supplied are really good colours, and what I would say about Crayolas is that if you are doing portraits, there's a really good variety of colours there, and you will see later when I do the portrait that there is a good variety and you can get some good skin tones. But pigmentation, I did have to layer quite a lot to get those pigments out on that test batch there. So you will see as I do all these testing processes the difference between the density of the colours. So the first test I'm going to do is a basic gradient shading test from light to dark, and I'm starting by shading dark to light. I did expect the pencils to react in a similar way because they are both wax binder pencils, and when I started shading, as you can see, I put less pressure on the Prismacolor and I'm getting a darker gradient, which meant that this was a lot easier to work with. So the Prismacolor wins the first round of my blending and shading test. The second blending test I'm going to do is going from one colour to another. So I'm going to try and blend the red into the orange into the yellow. And again, even though these are both wax-based pencils, I did find that the Crayola was much harder to work with. It just wasn't as soft and easy to blend as the Prismacolor, and I was having to go back over those layers, work back in, work back out, and I just found that this was more labour intensive than the Prismacolor. The Prismacolor was more like butter. It was just blending much easier, and I found that I wasn't having to work hard. However, you will see that I have to keep going in with my paintbrush, and that means that there's lots of little crumbly bits coming off, which is something that does happen with Prismacolors. That's why sometimes I do prefer to work with Faber-Castell or Caran d'Ache Luminance, but I do find that the Prismacolors do blend really well, and you can see here not only has it blended really well, but you do have that vibrancy, so that's why the Prismacolor does win that second round also. So now I'm going to use a Derwent colorless blender, and the desired effect of the colorless blender is to blend effortlessly the color pencil as you glide over those marks. So I'm starting to blend usually as I would do the green tones, and I'm just doing this as I would usually with the Crayola, and then I'm going to go in and do this with the Prismacolor, and then what I will do is I will go over both of these with the Derwent Colourless Blender. If you want to find out more about any of the resources that I have used today, including the paper, which is the Strathmore Smooth paper, then you can click on any of the links in the description below. So I'm now going to go in with the Derwent Colourless Blender, and I found that this worked really well with the Crayola. There weren't any significant shavings or strange effects. However, with the Prismacolor you will see there is a really strange finish on the top. So I found on this particular round that the Crayola came out first because it had a nice smooth finish. I am now doing another test with blending one colour into another, but this time I'm going to layer the white pencil on top. So effectively you are using the white pencil as a blending pencil, and this does work well with some brands, but I have found in the past it doesn't work so well with others, so it'd be interesting to see how both of the brands compare. So you just blend your three colours as you would usually, and then try out the white pencil on top. As I say, it just softens the colours slightly and should blend them together if you get the desired effect with your pencil. So essentially you use it as a burnishing tool. So I'm going over these with these now, and this is the Crayola. I found that when I did this again it was really hard work and it didn't really blend it much, whereas when I went over with the Prismacolor, as you can see, it's really blending that panel well. So as you can see, the Prismacolor has come out tops in that round. So solvent. For this particular section I will be using a solvent called Zest It. The reason that I like to use Zest It is because it works effectively, but also the fumes are not that strong. It's not as toxic as other solvents that are available. So I am going to blend all of the pencil marks as I would usually, and then I will go in with the Zest It once I have blended all of the pencil marks to see which of the panels blends most effectively with the solvent. Before adding the solvent to your pencil work, make sure you dab the paintbrush onto some paper towel just to make sure you don't put too much on, and just make sure that you have blended all of your marks before you have finished. If you would like to learn more about colour pencil blending techniques, then check out this clip on the card above. Before I started the drawing, I wanted to test out all of the skin tones and start on the skin tone area. So what I did was I took the colours that I thought I would need, and I decided to do some layering swatches so that I could look at the skin tones that I would be able to use on my portrait. So as I just mentioned, I decided that I wanted to start the portrait with the skin tone areas on both sides of the portrait. So I put some tape down the centre, and I started with the skin tone on the left hand side with the Crayola. As with the testing earlier, I did find it quite hard work trying to get any kind of pigmentation out of the Crayola, but the benefit of the Crayola pencils was that there was quite a lot of skin tone colours to choose from. So I started layering the dark colours first and then working on top with the lighter colours to get the skin tones. So now I'm going to go in with the Prismacolors. Now, one of the downfalls of the Prismacolors with the skin tones is there weren't so many skin tones, but what I did was I layered them up so that I could use a wider variety of skin tones with the layering. What I did notice straight away was that the pigmentations and the vibrancy of the Prismacolors was far greater than that of the Crayola, which meant that I wasn't having to work as hard when I was using the pencils. You can see straight away when you compare the right with the left that the vibrancy is much better. I have to say though that the Crayola wasn't that bad with the skin tones, but I just found that the Prismacolor did have the edge a little bit on the skin tone areas. That doesn't mean to say that with the rest of the test with this image that they will be better. I did just notice on the initial sketching with the skin tones, the vibrancy, it did just pop out that little bit more. So as I mentioned earlier, the skin tones work really well, but I found that the black and the red just really lacked vibrancy, especially the black. You can barely see it. It looks more like a grey. And even though I'm working as hard as I can with these pencils, there's only so much pressure that I can add with it without being unfair to the Prismacolor. And I'm just not getting that vibrancy, especially as I say from the black. You're just not getting that dark element to it. And when I go in with the Prismacolors, you can see on the right hand side I'm going in with the black, and I'm not really having to put in that much effort. And then when I put that black Prismacolor on, I'm looking back at the other one and I'm thinking, wow, that's really light. I need to go back over it with the black again. You can see a real difference in the red neckerchief. It's just so much more vibrant on the right hand side. And as I say, I wasn't having to put anywhere near as much pressure on the Prismacolor as I was with the Crayola. So again, these dark negative areas are where you want your black to really stand out, and the Crayola is not performing. It's more like a dark grey. I've actually got some dark greys in the Prismacolor 72 set that come out darker than this, and I keep going back over it and it's just not popping out as I would expect it to, which is very disappointing because I feel that it does let the image down. So that's one disappointing factor to the Crayolas that I am using in this set. So after doing the test drawing and all of the tests that I carried out earlier, I would say that the Prismacolor is the best out of the both pencils that I tested today. However, the Crayola is not a bad set of pencils at all, and I would certainly recommend this set of pencils as a good budget brand for, say for example, a student range, or also any student that is at school. It's a great quality pencil to take for school. The Prismacolors, however, are for those that are more serious about their work, an art student, someone that's a serious hobbyist, or someone that's an artist. The reason that I say that is because they are an expensive premium brand, and I would not recommend them to someone that's taken them to school and is likely to get them broken. If you enjoyed this clip, then make sure you check out more clips like this in the review or colour pencil playlist. Don't forget to look in the description below for details of products used in today's clip, and if you have any ideas for content or questions, leave a comment below. Finally, don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell to be notified of future content.